Hey guys, Mark W. Flockhart, and I'm wearing my Think Insurance shirt today. Doing a couple batch videos. But I wanted to make a quick video. This is actually more of a training video than a following my life vlog style. I wanted to kind of use Chat GPT as kind of like a little cheat sheet. So I pulled up and I asked, what are the common mistakes that P&C agents make? And I actually found there's a ton of them. But the first thing that they mention is not understanding the coverage and selling it. I can completely agree with that. When I first started as an agent 12 plus years ago, I worked at Farmers Insurance, or 21st Century. And honestly, all I focused was sales. The system would deny me if I couldn't do something on a coverage. So because I was so focused on writing as much policies as I can, and I was licensed in the 40 whatever number of states I was licensed in, and it was just a how much can I sell to make. To be honest with you, I didn't even learn my current state, the state of Michigan. Our coverage is confusing. And I didn't even learn that until about 8 years later, even though I've sold policies there. It was just automated. It was trying to be as quick and simple as possible. And that's part of the reason that that department struggled a lot more than they should have. The other piece that you should be struggling with, and don't let this be a fear, is knowing that exclusions are there. Some companies, if you're working with multiple companies and different carriers, have exclusions for different scenarios. I'll give you an example. We have Allstate as one of our companies, and Allstate does typically, in our system at least, it defaults to giving a scheduled policy on the roof. That basically means that the older the roof is, the less it's covered. I like to give newer replacement or full replacement on the roof, so I've got to be mindful if I quote them, I have to go in there and change it. It's because of our rating software, the EasyLink software that we have. I think it's just defaulted to go that route. The second common mistake that most agents make is that they're not getting enough information. And I actually, coincidentally, not knowing that I was going to ask these questions, literally made a video about that. And that's for consumers. And I explained what's the difference between agents. And that's one of the main differences is not getting enough information from the customer. That's how I win more often than not. My strategy most times is taking in someone's current policy, looking at it and pulling it up if I have to download my own version, and explaining the things that they're not covered for because the customer I'm going after needs coverage for those scenarios. Unfortunately, most of you out there are quoting based on price, and I get it. You think price is the only thing, and yes, 50% of the time that's all people focus on. But if you focus your conversation on that because everybody else is, you're going to lose. If you're able to take that conversation and add value to them and say, wait a minute, I get price as a factor, but this, and that, they're going to sit back and say, you know what, you might be right. I do want somebody that is going to take that extra time and understand that that's a better scenario for me. Number 3 is something I currently struggle with a new agency. We do have a lot going on, so we're really focused on writing new business, but the renewals, we don't focus enough on the business that's renewing. Do they still have the right coverage? Are we connecting with our customers still? Are we getting those touches yearly that we can have a conversation with our client? We want them to feel part of our agency, and we say, we're the best with service, we're the best with all that, but are we actually giving that to them? The fourth piece, which you better be doing, is keeping records of everything. That's one of the benefits of EasyLinks, but I'll bet you a third of the people that use the EasyLink software or the AMS software or AMS 360 or whatever you're using, keep your documents there. Keep your recorded phone calls there. Try to have some sort of backup. If somebody calls in and makes a change, I don't care if it's just you running the show. Go in there, document it. One day, one of these problems will come up. There may be a lawsuit, you might be involved, there might be an E&O claim, whatever the case is, and you've got to show proof of everything that you've done or said. And having all those documents handled in the right place can make the difference between you fixing a claim or getting out of a lawsuit if you did it correctly. Number 5 is not keeping up with the industry changes. There's not a lot of changes, we'll be honest with you there. There's not a ton you have to keep up with. Yes, there's articles out there, and I'm obsessed with it because that's where my Think Insurance channel is about, is things that are happening, rates that are changing, companies that are doing this and that, and coverages and things like that, right? But in most states, it very rarely changes. Shoot, if you go on our state's website, michigan.gov, you'll notice that the liability limits for the state minimums haven't changed. They changed them 2.5 years ago. It's not even the government in our state has changed the coverage requirements. They're still there. They've increased them and they just haven't changed the data. So knowing what's changing and being in front of that, if there are large changes, you want to make sure that you're aware of that, not only so you are knowledgeable for it for quoting new people, but when you have customers that call and ask, you want to be the resource for them. Number 6 is not providing enough customer service. We already talked about that. Is you just got to help them. You got to be there for them. You got to have touch points to where, yes, you pull them in the door, but you got to follow up on those promises. Most customers won't fully trust you until you have a claim. But if you're constantly being in front of them and say, I still care, what are your questions, what things do we need? It creates more work for you, I get it, and there's less selling time, but sometimes you got to take a step back. Writing $500, $800, $1 million worth of policies in our industry is like the touted, that's the goal. We got to hit 50,000 a month, 80,000 a month. And that's fine. You can do that. But if it's P&C related, if you're mainly selling homes and auto, commercials, you could do that in one sale. But if you're doing home and auto mainly, you need to make sure that you're taking care of the customer correctly. If they call you, call them back. If it's a bad answer, call them back. Tell them the scenario as quick as you can and make sure that you're getting used to having those conversations that are uncomfortable. The 7th is more truer than ever, and it affects your financial stability. It's not diversifying your insurance policies. So what they mean by that is the losses that you have are fine, right? You have your profile of your customers. So if you're more of the high risk tier, then you focus on that. And honestly, your losses are going to be big. If you're focused on the preferred type of client, which is what we do, then you're going to have less losses. But you can't write a ton of high tiered clients because now you're raising that risk and you're putting your agency in jeopardy of losing your appointments. They can take them away. You also want to make sure that you're not having too many losses versus the premium coming in. So at the end of the year, these companies, if you're new to insurance, they're going to look at your book and say, how much did you grow? Great. How many losses did you have? Boo-hoo. And did we make money with you? Not enough. And if that's the case, you're not going to get a year-end bonus. They call them a contingency check. Those can be thousands, if not tens of thousands, starting on year 1. When you get bigger, they can be hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, I'm going to split that up into a second piece. Diversity, they didn't actually mention this on ChatGPT, but I will split it myself, and I will tell you this. If you don't diversify your book, you're also going to have some issues. What I mean by that is if you have 6 carriers, and you put some with this one, some with this one, some with this one, some with this one, that's good. But you don't want to over-diversify it. So you don't want to have it spread so much that you're only writing 5,000 with this guy, 8,000 with this guy, 5,000 with this, and 20 with this guy. So this guy's going to give you a year-end bonus, and they're going to be happy. But you're going to have too many losses with this one, too many losses with that one. This one had too many cancels. And because it's such a small metric, it's going to hurt you. That's why some of these companies out there, when you look at them, like, oh, we do 100 carriers. Well, that's fine and great, but you're not going to get as big of a paycheck at the end of the day because carrier that's more competitive is just some unknown company. And that unknown company may or may not be beneficial to you because you may or may not get extra pay for it. Might be beneficial for the customer, and then that's fine, but should you have an appointment with that carrier? The other piece of that is splitting and diversifying your account is if you put all of your business with one company, then you've got, once again, a possible huge loss. $1 million claim could wipe your whole account down to where you aren't getting that extra contingency bonus. And if you count on that contingency bonus, there can be a lot of problems with that. The 8th piece, I will take with a grain of salt. They said not shopping around for best coverage. Agents should compare coverage and pricing to multiple insurance providers in order to get the best deal for the clients. Yes, that's kind of our whole life, right? But I will take this another step. So with our system, we use Easy Links, and it quotes multiple companies. And I've got like 10 or 12 different companies in there, and I already know 3 of them are going to be competitive, right? We've got 3 main carriers. Out of those 3, I have to type one by hand because it won't give me a price until I have my direct appointment with them. Now, congratulations to us. We're actually going to have that appointment in less than a week, which is cool. We just got approved for it. But we don't have them in our Radar software. We grew that company on ourselves by typing it by hand again. So what that meant was we took an extra 15 minutes every time we quoted somebody to be competitive so that we could get them on our rating software. That is so true with this, because if you have other companies that you're not checking, take the first month and a half to 2 months and start typing in quote. Every 90 days or so, run a few more quotes with them. If they're not competitive today, that doesn't mean that their rates aren't going to change and they're going to be more competitive in the future. So it's good to know what those options are for your customer if you have those companies that don't show up on your rating software, so that you can quote them outside of it. On the opposite piece of that, I will warn you, the other day went so far down a rabbit hole with this. I quoted like 8 different carriers one at a time, and I just wasted hours of my day. And I don't think I was even close to competitive at the end of the whole thing. So there is a fine line between you spending your whole day doing it and actually taking the time to understand, I know carrier 1 is not good. I know carrier 2 is not good. Let me just quote these 4 carriers or three carriers because of the scenario that we have. Let me know if I'm missing anything out of this. I thought it was cool to kind of use the AI system, and I thought I'd just use their questions that everybody asks in general. I know it's not my normal type of vlog style where it's following my journey, but I also want to kind of help train and be helpful to others as well, and more follow the journey that I'm on. If you are looking for other carriers and trying to get other carrier appointments, I think your next step would be to check out the video I made about getting carrier appointments. If you want to learn how to get carrier appointments and how simpler it is than you think, go ahead and check that out. Otherwise, I'm Mark W. Flockhart. I'll see you soon.